Welcome to the Alchemist Nation podcast. We are a community of business and real estate professionals who are on a shared mission to help every individual achieve financial freedom through right action, the right knowledge, and the right accountability. Join me, Andrew McMurray, and my co-host Mitch Jaworski as we find and interview those who have mastered wealth and who have a desire to share their wisdom with you. Enjoy. All right, welcome back to the Alchemist Nation podcast. I am your host for today, Andrew McMurray. My co-host Mitch will not be joining me. He's currently driving to another one of our live events to speak. So we'll hear back from him next week. But today, I'm really excited. We have an incredible guest who I love deeply and who truly embodies the spirit of community and the essence of entrepreneurial success that we amplify and promote and support within Alchemist Nation. So she hails from the beautiful state of Massachusetts, where I come from originally. Kim, it's great to connect with someone up there right now. But Kim is not just a realtor or a broker. I don't know if you're a broker or just a realtor.
Not yet. I'll be a broker, but yes, not yet.
But she's not just a realtor and soon to be broker. She is a real estate powerhouse who, alongside with her husband, has meticulously crafted a pretty formidable real estate empire over a fairly short period of time. But what truly sets Kim apart is her unwavering commitment to fostering connections and nurturing growth within her community and within our community. So she's a mastermind behind Cocktail Connections in Real Estate, which you guys just met even last night. And it's one of, I've heard from many, many people, one of the most sought after monthly events, not only within Alchemist Nation, but I think in all of Massachusetts. And I mean, you draw in probably almost 100 people every single month.
100 to 150. Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut. I've even had people come from New Hampshire.
Crazy. So it's clearly not just about real estate for Kim. It's about building relationships, sharing knowledge, and elevating everyone around her. So please join me today in welcoming the dynamic, the inspiring Kimberly Rodrigues.
Hey, thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited, Andrew. That was beautiful. You're so amazing. I'm like, that's me. Yeah. So thank you. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here. And the Alchemist community, I met Walter many years ago at another mastermind. Actually, I met Walter, Dorina, Mitch, and several other people at this really cool event in Framingham, Massachusetts, where we connected and then we kind of went and then we reconnected. And then Walter started the Alchemist Nation. So, Walter, I have a place in my heart for him because, he has helped a lot of people and this community has really grown to be something. Oh, that's my dog. I thought it was my husband. I'm like, go away, go away. But he is my dog. So, hey, Rocky. It's been a pleasure to be here. So go ahead. So thank you for having me and thank Walter for having me. And I'm happy to be here.
Of course. Thank you for being here. And what's up, Rocky? How you doing, buddy? So I would love, just real quick, briefly, walk me through, you're very successful and you're very driven and you're very a powerhouse, really is the term. You're very effectively focused energy. It seems like that's been my experience when I'm around you. So has it always been that way? What have been some milestone moments that kind of really brought you to where you are right now?
Well, I think I was groomed from a very young age. I did not have the childhood. I mean, I don't know what everyone else's childhood was like, but obviously we have different childhoods. My childhood was, I didn't realize it until I was older, but was not as stable as I wanted it to be or dreamt it to be or perceived it to be. I grew up in Massachusetts and my parents didn't have a lot of money. My dad was a gambler and we moved around a lot. And we had gone with my dad's family to Kentucky. So I lived in Kentucky and in Massachusetts, and then back to Kentucky, and then back to Massachusetts, and back again to Kentucky, and back to Massachusetts in a very, short amount of time. So I got to experience different cultures, not only from, the North and the South in the United States, which is very different, but also my mother is Spanish. So, and my father is American. And that brings a different dynamic into it. But not having money, having moved around a lot, and then my mother getting cancer when I was, not yet an adult, right? And having to help take care of my mom, helping my father take care of the family, put me in a situation where I wasn't being cared for. I was helping give care at a young age. So I think that probably catapulted me into helping other people, into taking care of myself, right? Which also brings some opposite challenges as well. But I think that and always been a high achiever. It was to acceptance or to feel loved, right? And there goes Rocky eating some things that he shouldn't be eating. But I think those are the foundational pieces, and probably too much information for this podcast, but the foundational pieces of, what really somehow grounded me, through the chaos of moving, of the different challenges of, becoming a caretaker for my parents at a young age and then being a caretaker again at an older age. Taught me resilience, taught me that, no matter what happens, you have to move forward. And those things, and along with some other things, helped me develop the tenacity and resilience that, people, I guess categorize me as a powerhouse. But, I don't know if I see myself as a powerhouse, but it's kind of interesting that, that is a name that I'm called. I guess it's not a bad name or label, right? But yeah. And I'm driven by helping others and helping others succeed. So when I was climbing the ladder, because I had a corporate career, have a corporate career, I always know that I would help and lead and grow, right? So when you're younger, or when I was younger, I, wanted to make more money, wanted to do more. So I would do things. I would, I paid for my own college education. I didn't have the luxury of having someone do that for me. I paid for my own car. Like I was buying my own clothes at 14, 15, and 16 because my parents didn't have that to do for me, right? So driving forward, realizing that, and I think the transition came when I got into the working, like real full-time job. Actually, can I tell you about my first full-time job?
Yeah, sure.
So I got a job. It was like a temp job. Well, my first job was at the donut shop. So anybody who starts at a donut shop, it wasn't Dunkin' at the time, it was Mike's. But anybody who starts at a donut shop or works in retail, I find that you get valuable skills there to work with the public, to communicate, to, follow a schedule that you don't always get. But anyways, so from donut babysitter and donut girl to my first full-time job while I was paying for myself to go to college was at this store called Cherry Web and Terrain. And it was a specialty women's store. And they had a corporate office in South Attleboro, Massachusetts. And in that office, they had a position, the cosmetic buying department. And in the cosmetic buying department, that's like a really cool job. So somehow I got this job. And I remember telling one of my girlfriends who was in fashion in New York, and she was doing these things. She goes, what do you do? And I go, well, I work at the cosmetic buying office. She goes, you work where? I'm like, yeah, I work at the cosmetic buying office of Cherry Web and Terrain. And I'm thinking, that's pretty cool. I'm working in an office. I'm helping people do books. I'm like working with all the different stores. They had a bunch of different stores. And then later my boss was telling me, Kim, back then, we're a 3-person office pulling in a multi-million-dollar business, which was a small piece of Cherry Web and Terrain. And you don't realize the impact of that when you're in it. Like, I didn't realize that was like something that was, prestigious. So that helped me move forward. I worked at the bank also. I always had multiple jobs. It was just because I needed to support myself. I needed to help the family. That's what I had to do. Then I moved on to, I don't know why I'm doing this, telling you all this, but it's coming out. So it is what it is. Maybe. Then I moved on to, in school, when I was in college, I went to Salve Regina in Newport because I wanted to be by the ocean. Really, that was it. I wanted to be by the ocean, and I wanted to be an accountant for the FBI. Why go to Salve Regina? That wasn't like the school you go to at that time, but I wanted to be an accountant for the FBI because I thought that would be a cool thing. And learned some things there, had some challenges. I won't get into all the personal stuff, but from Cherry Web and Terrain, they let me work in one of the stores there. And then I remember the lady saying, "Oh, Kim, you're not a salesperson." Because they had me on the floor, because I was in the back office before, managing people, helping all the stores, right? And I'm like, and I was kind of like, I'm not a salesperson? Like, why am I not a salesperson? And people always tell me now that I'm great at sales. But she was like, yeah. Because I guess, when you're on the floor, they want you to sell more clothes or put things together. And I just figured people would come to me when they needed something and I'd help them. But I didn't get that whole going, and I don't like to push myself onto people. So anyways, from there, I evolved to, I fast forward, I ended up getting married, and I ended up getting a job at New England Telephone Company. Do you even know what that is? Have you ever heard of it? Yeah. Never. Have you heard of 9X? New York, New England Telephone? No. So I'm dating myself. Have you ever heard of Bell Atlantic?
Sounds familiar.
It's starting to sound familiar. Have you ever heard of Verizon?
I've heard of Verizon.
So Verizon, all of those companies kind of evolved into Verizon. And I started with New England Telephone. And then I remember when we were announced as Verizon. So I grew up, the first job I had there was I was in operator services. It was telephone operator services for the deaf and hard of hearing. So I get to learn about deaf culture. I got to understand, because some laws change and the government has a big impact on everything we do, right? Whether we believe it or not. I was able to learn about deaf culture. I was able to it allowed deaf people to communicate with people who could hear over the phone. So they would have their TTY. Now we have text and everything, right? And translators and all kinds of things. But back then, they would type, and then me as an operator would have to read that, but in a conversational tone with the intent that the person had to the other person. So I would have conversations, everything from, hey, how you doing? Your mother's sick, you got cancer, to talk to the doctor, to teenagers in the middle of the night calling their friends and saying the craziest stuff to see if we as operators would say it. Imagine what a teenager in the middle of the night saying, a deaf teenager calling their hearing friend, right? We heard like everything, but we had, very strict rules where we couldn't repeat anything, but we had to handle that conversation just as we're talking now, which was pretty interesting. And then I started learning operations there. I eventually became a manager, and in the district office, I had one of the, I was known for transforming teams. So I would take an underperforming team and turn them into a performing team, which was kind of cool. And I like that because what it was to me was helping people do better at their jobs. And who doesn't want to do better at their job, right? I mean, yeah, you may hate your job, but everybody wants to do better at their job because they want the money that they're making from that job, and nobody wants to suck. And if they do want to suck, then they'll eventually get fired, right? Or find another job. But most people want to do a good job. And when they're not doing a good job, it hurts. So, and if they're not in the right place, then I help people get into the right place. And that's always where I've been. So back to my original point, why I'm telling you all of this, is we start somewhere and we're not exactly sure where we're going to end up. But you take these steps and you learn these things and you meet these people, and it all prepares you for, like our conversation before, right? What is next? Am I just some piece in this world that is almost like a video game? Or do I have any control or no control? And is what I think what's going to come out, right? And when I shifted from myself being promoted to really helping people, other people get promoted, helping other people do better at their jobs, helping other people figure out life, right? That's when the magic started to happen for me. And I progressed faster than I have ever progressed before. The same thing happened when I work at the job that I had now. I went through a very, very tough time in 2006, 7, 8, right around there when the market crashed. I'm not sure that you were around doing business then, but you were probably on this earth. And, but a lot of people were very hurt. And I was one of them. I was a single mom with 4 kids. And I took a position in a company that was supposed to be on the leading edge in technology. I left the Verizon that I was there for over 15 years to take a chance on a company. And within 3 to 6 months, it all happened within that time frame. I had no job. I had a mortgage and 4 kids to support. My mom and dad were living with me because my dad was very sick. And I was like, what am I gonna do? And you just get through it somehow. You don't know how you're going to do it. And I pretty much lost pretty much everything. There's some things I would have done differently now, knowing what I do today, but I didn't want to tell anybody. I didn't want to tell anybody what I was going through, because I was embarrassed, because I was always a top performer, because I always helped other people turn their lives around. And I got to the point where I was like, what am I going to do? And I didn't want to let anybody down.
Right.
And by keeping everything in, and I think a lot of people do that. I think a lot of times people get to a point where they don't know what to do. They've been in control or feel like they've been in control for so long that they get to a point where they don't know what to do. And it seems like everything's coming down and they don't know what to do. They freeze, they run, right? But the smart ones, and I'm not saying the others aren't smart, but they get paralyzed by what's happening, what seems to be crumbling, what seems to be a mess. They don't ask for help. They don't talk to people to say, what can I do to get out of this situation? Because no matter where you are in life, if there's always going to be somebody in front of you and there's always going to be somebody behind you, right? And we're all just helping each other get to that next level. And no, and there was a saying that I always had trouble with. The saying was, fake it till you make it. Do you know that saying? Fake it till you make it.
Right.
What do you think about that?
I understand the concept, but I don't like to think of it as faking. It's like
I'm just like you.
My first day on the job, I'm wearing the uniform. Like I'm still that role. Like that's what I am now. I'm like, that's my role. I'm wearing the costume. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I'll always get better at that role, but I'm not like, I think day one,
But wearing the costume is kind of, to me, if you don't mind me saying, wearing the costume is like faking it, right? But for me, I did not, like you, I did not understand what fake it till you make it. I'm like, what do you mean fake it till you make it? I would study, I would learn, I would ask questions, I would do everything so that I could make sure that I knew what to do when I could move forward, right? And whenever anybody said fake it till you make it, I was like, but what you just said is when you get there, you put on the costume. So, yes, there's an essence of faking it, but you're really not faking it because the reality of the situation is nobody knows what they're doing unless they've done it before, right? Nobody does. It doesn't matter what you're doing, nobody does. When we learned how to walk, we didn't know how to walk before we started to walk, but eventually we walked. The job that you're in now, the business that you're in now, you didn't know how to do that before, right?
Right.
I'm assuming. And now you know how to do it, right? But then when you find the sweet spot of what your strengths are and what you really need to know to move forward, then you can propel yourself faster. So you have that built that confidence, right? Because faking it till you making it is really just confidence. Making it is saying, like, I know what I'm doing in real estate. I know how to buy a multifamily. I know how to get financed. I know how to teach other people how to do it, right? But when I started out, did I know that? Like I had an idea, right? I had an understanding, right? I had some knowledge, but had I applied it successfully? And until you apply it successfully, you're really just faking it until you make it. And I never knew that until just recently. I always thought that the people who were ahead doing more had more knowledge, had more experience. They were so far ahead of me. And I was just, and even today, like I get amazed by what people do. But they're just like all of us. We all are at a different point there in the timeline. And maybe not the timeline is it, but there's some people that are here. I'm right here. And Andrew, you may be right there. Right? And it doesn't make us better. It doesn't make us worse. It just makes us in a different place, in a different area where we have the opportunity to grow. And we have the opportunity to shine. We have the opportunity to run away. We have the opportunity to decide, is this what I really want? And if it is what I really want, am I going to go for it? Am I going to put in the actions? Am I going to put in the time? Am I going to make a difference with whatever this is?
Right. Because it's a commitment. I mean, you have to commit. Faking it till you make it is just like if I'm thinking about like my favorite version of myself, it's like you're right. Like I like to, I guess in my mind I think of it as living from the end. Like what's the end goal I'm looking for in this situation, and then just imagining and feeling into already being there. And because like at what do they say? Like the goals are going to change. Like the things you want are going to change. What you're really looking for is that feeling, that confidence, maybe like that peace. So it's like visualize, imagine that you already are in the end, and fake it so that you can like feel it now. So that once you feel where you want to be, then life's actually going to like, manifest that experience.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting. But at the same time, we were talking about earlier before the show, like on how like the path of evolution, like the growth is never ending, right? Like it's never gonna end. So like I guess it's getting comfortable with the imposter syndrome of faking it, right? Because I'm always going to have to deal with that, because I'm always going to be wanting to embody something greater than what I currently am today. So like it's a never ending, almost scientific method where like you have a result you're looking for, and it's just, you got to keep hypothesizing and taking some actions and getting the results and going for it. And like, I guess being okay with it being a perpetual science experiment rather than like some one person.
Definitely beginning of an end. Yeah.
Interesting.
This is not what you thought this was going to be, right?
No, I love it. I love it. And I want to go back to your story, because one thing that I found interesting through it is like, so you had to become comfortable with taking care of other people very young, right? And like of having to show up and take responsibility. I think at the young age, maybe you're not even considering like whether you're capable of it or like whether you're faking it or it's like
No, I
you're
wasn't thinking
showing
any of
up.
that. I just had to do what I
Right.
had to do.
Right. And to do that, I imagine you have to become pretty empathic, like feel into other people's needs and like kind of be, especially to take care of multiple people, like you have to like be able to manage people's needs without them almost even voicing them. And then like seeing how you transition on to eventually you're doing, I find it really fascinating that job of translating people's conversations because that's taking on you're becoming the other person, like in a sense, on like some quantum, like scientific sense, like you're acting, like you're like, I'm going to become this person. I got a conversation as them, like multiple different, all types of conversations, whatever these people are dealing with in the moment. Like I'm sure they're interacting about all the whole emotional spectrum. And like that, I just, these experiences that you have, like make me feel that like it makes me understand your ability to connect with a lot of people and build a strong community in a big group because you must be like incredibly empathic. And so how do you stay grounded? And I also understand the concept of like, if you're someone that's always taking a lot of responsibility for everybody else, it's almost not that you don't want to share like what's on your heart, but it's like, who can I share it with that it's not gonna like break them? Like who can I actually share it with that can handle like what I feel my level of like problems are, you know? Because most people are probably not even considering all the different things you're considering. So to start like venting
You're
them
so
out, like,
right on,
oh my God, you're
100%.
breaking my mind.
Yeah.
You're breaking my mind. So it's
Yeah.
like it's interesting. So I'm curious to know, like now at this point, like where do you go to process your information? Like how do you stay grounded in yourself while clearly being someone who can feel into like a bunch of people at one time?
Yeah. Um, Great question. Um, I love your analytical skills and your ability to understand. But you're 100% right. I had that problem for a very, very long time, not wanting to like almost burden other people, you know? So it's a self-care type of thing that I had to learn, especially over these past 3 years. So as I was learning and growing and, really catapulting that real estate experience, um, I actually went through a very, very difficult time where I told you I was transforming again. We didn't really talk about what that meant. And it's exactly this. Uh, Creating those boundaries again. I somehow allowed myself to get lost in other people's, I don't want to say mission, um, but I'm just going to say I allowed myself to get a little lost. And that really caused me to, I came like tumbling down, I'll say. And where like I got to a point where I wasn't getting out of bed. And people like, that you? I'm like, I'm human, just like everyone else. I'm
Right.
human. I have feelings. I have good days. I have bad days. I have days where, the everything is going my way. And then I have days where like there's all these problems that I feel like I have to solve. And how do I ground myself? So I've been doing a lot of work with boundaries, with meditation, with breath work. I am very spiritual. Um, I pray every single day. I multiple times a day. I and there's these things that I do. We don't have to get into all the little details, but there's things that I do. And most recently, I found this place actually in Rhode Island. I'm living in Rhode Island. I don't know if you know that, but Massachusetts and Rhode Island, they're kind of like the same state where I come from because I'm like, we're always right on the line in Mass and Rhode Island. So now I'm literally in Rhode Island. And there's this place in Lincoln, and there's this guy who does this breath work class, and it's 2 hours of breath work. And he's doing it like once a month. And it is absolutely incredible. Like literally everyone's in the class and you don't have time to focus. I was never one that was very judgmental of other people. Like I would hear other people talking about other people. I'm like, why are they talking about other people? Like everybody's going through something, right? It doesn't matter who you are, where you are. And I think that's where I have that empathy from, deep, you know, genuine care and love for people. Um, Everybody goes through things. They're just where they're at right now. So just love on them, you know? But this breath work session is really, I think right now, it's something that's keeping me grounded. Also with my prayer, my meditation, I'm doing yoga, I'm exercising, and I'm getting back um, to being me. Uh, I changed my eating habits significantly because I was not eating at regular intervals, right? I prioritized work and helping people over fueling my body. And fueling your body is very, very important. Not just your body, but when I say your body, your soul, your mind, your spirit. I feel it's all part of being this, you know, this home, I call it. Um, and I'm giving you a lot of information in a relatively short period of time, and I think you can fill in the blanks, right?
Yeah,
Um, but it's not just one thing. It's a combination of things, and it's being aware. Really taking the time. You said like you shaved your head, right? Because you wanted to be more present, and you felt that there were some things that for you, if that's okay that I share this,
yeah, for
that
sure.
that you shaved so that those memories of the past and what that hair at that time represented to you, um, went away, right? And for you, it was like a spiritual cleansing almost, I think. It's just my assumption. And it helped you, and you said it gave you this reminder every time you look in the mirror, every time you look in the camera, that, here I am. Here I am. It's not this hair, which that hair represents. It's here I am. And a lot of people have trouble understanding who I am. They want to be this person. They want to be that person. They want to be this position. They want to be that position. They want to have this type of car. They want to have that type. They want to invest around whatever that is. Um, do we really know who we are? And that's kind of what I went through. And this breath work and this taking time to be present, like you're taking time to be present, um, really brings you to a place where you can say, yeah, okay, you know, and
Right.
feel at peace and feel the love for yourself, right? People say, oh, you have to love yourself in order to love other people. You have to put on the mask. We hear all those things. And I go, right? Not because I don't think it's valid, but because I was a victim of, not doing those things, right? I was helping other people and not putting on the mask first. And um, and then there were pockets of, you know, this, always self-reflecting and moving back and not beating yourself up. Because sometimes when you're a high performer, or you've had to, or in my case, or I've had to take care of myself for most of my life, um, there's two things I rest on. And that's number one, God. And then number two, I think, is that feeling of love. And coming back to, for me, that equates to peace, right? Love and acceptance of self and acceptance of others.
I love it. I love everything you're saying. So, like, boiled down into a complete nutshell, we're learning how to self-regulate, like almost like what Tony Robbins talks about, like physiologically, rather than like mentally processing, like with someone else. It's like there's techniques available to ground ourselves like right through our own body, through the simplest but most basic necessity of like breathing, right? We can begin to
Mm-hmm.
for ourselves, which provides the peace, provides the love. I love that. That's it's very simple, but it's, I mean, even something I have to really like schedule in to do, because like, how often do I consciously breathe? I don't know, a couple times a week maybe, but interesting.
I learned, yeah, it physically, it changes your makeup too. It's really fascinating. If you're ever back here, you should come. Well, I'll go to the class with you. It's freaking amazing. I'm sure they have it other places too, but it is amazing.
I can imagine. Like, I feel so good when I do like I mentioned I was doing some priming right before this. Like, that's only like maybe 5 or 6 minutes of like focused breath work, but it feels so good. And 2 hours of that, oh my God, I'd love
Like
to.
you can't even imagine doing that. I'm like, and the first time one of my friends, like we went to have tea, and then she's like, "Oh, there's this place," and she goes, "What do you think about this?" And she kind of just showed me, and I'm like, "Oh, I definitely do that." And she's like, "You would?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "All right." And I had thought that she had done it before, but both of us had never done it before, so we went not realizing that. And then I invited another friend, and she came. And she's like, "Oh yeah," and it ended up being like a great experience. But I've done it twice. So I did it last month and I did it this month. And I'm like, are you going to do this every? Because when he first did it, I think he might have done it a couple times, but he wasn't having it on a regular basis. And now he said, I'm going to do it like once a month. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so awesome because people are loving it.
Mm.
And you would never think like breathing for 2 hours. Like we breathe every day and we take it for granted. Like every single day, you don't know that you're breathing. And people talk about death. I mean, maybe not people, everybody talks about death, but people talk about getting sick, having these illnesses, but really, what is death? Not
Trans-
breathing. That's
no.
the only thing that death is, not breathing.
Oh my
That's
God.
it. It's not breathing. So if you're breathing, you're alive. If you're not breathing, you're dead. That's the only thing. You can have cancer, you can have diabetes, you can have, um, you can be obese, you can be whatever. You're alive. And if you're here and you're alive and you're breathing, you have the opportunity to make a difference. You have an opportunity to live better. You have an opportunity to be, do, have anything that you want. So breathing is important. And when you can slow down your breathing and you can control your breathing, and when you can take, really breathe, it does. And I don't know all the science behind it. The guy that I was with knows all the science behind it. But and I'm learning more every day, but it is something very, very, very special.
Wow. Incredible. Thank you so much, Kim, for taking me on this journey with you. It's been amazing. Um, I want to address, maybe we've gotten off course from what you'll be talking about at the summit, but I would love to real quickly give you a moment to just discuss what your experience with Alchemist Nation is, and also maybe give us a quick teaser of what you will be sharing at the summit.
Great. So my experience with Alchemist Nation has been fascinating. Walter and the Alchemist team have brought together and Dorina, I can't forget about Dorina. She's absolutely amazing. Have brought together a great community of people who really want to, I'm going to just say, be, do, and have more, right? And it's surrounding real estate, but it's also surrounding business. And no matter where you are in your journey, it's had this ability to bring people together. And I've met some really, really incredible people through the community. And I'm connected to those people. And I, I care for them very much. Right. And the mentorship program, I remember his first, what was the he had a mastermind in in Florida. And
That was the original Mission to Millions, right?
the Mission to Millions. Yes. I was in the original group of the Mission to Millions. And I can tell you the people that were there at that weekend, that whole thing that Dorina and Walter and Doug and all of the team there put together was really not only incredibly bonding experience, but it helped each and every one of us propel to the next level, right? So I can't say enough good things about the positives that I have taken, and most of it's, the people. Yes, there's training. Yes, and I love events. I'm like the event queen. There's an event, there's an adventure. I'm right there with you. So I thank and I feel blessed that I have been able to be part of the community.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, and that's common feedback that I hear when because I ask that question to everybody I can. It's like it is the people. Walter does have a good way of bringing together a good group of people who, like you said, like-minded, all want to do. What'd you say? Be, do, and grow
Be,
more.
do, have. Be, do, have. Yeah.
I love that. Well, we are coming up to the 100 Millionaire Summit in a couple of weeks now, November 3rd to 5th. I think it's almost exactly 2 weeks away. And you're going to be speaking. You're going to be on stage, which I'm excited to experience. Can you give us a quick teaser? Just like a quick, what are you going to share? Don't tell us, but what are you going to share with us?
I'm going to share with you. I think you know a lot of my journey, but I'm going to share here's the teaser, which I put on the video the other day, how I took $8,000 and turned that into a multi-million-dollar real estate empire. And can I tell you that $8,000, this is a little secret that I don't think maybe only 3 people know. That $8,000, I didn't really have a lot then. Came from, where do you think it came from? You think I had it in cash? No, that $8,000 came from me refinancing my car so that I could get into the real estate game. So if you want it, you can get it. If I can do it, you can do it. And that's my teaser.
Incredible. Thank you so much for sharing. And one last question before we close this out. Where is your favorite place for people to find you and connect with you and interact with you?
Oh, I just started connect with Kim.me. CONNECT with Kim, KIM.me.
Awesome. I'll make sure to throw that in the show notes as well.
Great. Thanks.
Kim, thank you so much. This has been an incredible conversation. I feel like I got to know you a lot more, and I'm really excited for your speech in a couple of weeks. I can't wait to see you.
Woo, me too. I can't wait to see you in real life in Orlando, Florida.
Well, it's all real life, just not in digital dimension, in the physical dimension.
Yeah. I want to be able to touch. No, that doesn't sound good. I want to be able to touch you.
No, it's true.
You know what I mean.
Physical touch is apparently according to human design, my strongest sense. So I agree. I like to be in the physical with people. So thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.